Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from Loudon, Mr. Poisson.
Speaking to the bill, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition to this bill. Although I voted in committee to report the bill, I did so primarily out of respect for the gentleman from Grayson and because I believe this is an issue that ought to be aired on this floor. I'll not get into a long analysis of how this bill affects the constitutionally protected right to practice our religion freely, although I do believe it raises a number of questions in that regard. What I am more concerned about in connection with this bill is the threat it poses to the spirit of ecumenism with which all faiths are struggling, to the idea that whether we are worshiping as Christians, Buddhists, Muslims, or Jews, or not at all, we are doing it in a way that is respectful of each other's point of view. Mr. Speaker, the superintendent's program does not rule out the expression of one's beliefs by the member of any particular faith. He did not recruit into the chaplaincy program only ministers, or only priests, or only rabbis, or only imams. He did not threaten any of them with retribution if they chose to align themselves with one faith group over another. He did not say that if in the company of those whose congregations they lead, they expressed a particular religious point of view, that they would be violating department policy. No, he simply asked that if he selected one of them to offer a prayer, that as a matter of courtesy, as a matter of respect for the views of others, that they not use words that highlight the differences in our faith traditions, but that they try instead to find words that would bring everyone in the department or at an official gathering together in common prayer, something which our own clerk asks of all clergy who pray with us each day. Mr. Speaker, there is no section of the code that guides us in this area, no rules for how to pray. Our Constitution says that we are all entitled to the free exercise of religion and that we should all be left free to select our religious instructor. But as I said, we can all argue on end whether these pronouncements better support this delegate's position or that of the gentleman from Grayson. But there is a place where we can go for direction about how to pray that isn't in code, isn't in the Constitution, and won't be found in the pages of some obscure Supreme Court decision. In fact, Mr. Speaker, on this all-important issue, Scripture itself provides helpful guidance. In Matthew, in direct response to a question asked by the apostles as to how they should pray, Jesus responded, "When you pray, do not be like the hypocrites. They love to stand up and pray in the houses of worship and on the street corners so that everyone will see them. I assure you, they have already been paid in full. But when you pray, go to your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. And your Father who sees what you do in private will reward you. When you pray, do not use a lot of meaningless words as the pagans do, who think that their gods will hear them because their prayers are long. Do not be like them. Your Father already knows what you need before you ask him." Mr. Speaker, I agree with the gentleman from Grayson that we should be free to communicate with our Creator. The superintendent's program is no more intended to inhibit the religious practices of those in his department than are our prayers in this chamber intended to make us all part of one religion. We can all be of different faiths and still be one in prayer. I urge my colleagues to vote no. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.